Hello everyone and welcome to the finals of the MrDodgy Invitational. It is the long-awaited clash between Magnus Carlsen and Daniil Dubov, and much like the match between Croatia and Belgium today in football, in the World Football Championship, it did not go the way I thought it would go. So I'm not going to spoil it right away, but I will spoil it soon. So I really had to choose which game to show, as you guys were really requesting a game from this match, but I'm sure you guys are aware of what I'm talking about, so let's dive straight into it. Magnus has the white pieces, and he opens with pawn to e4. Like all of the games in the MrDodgy Invitational, this is 5 plus 0 seconds increment, so this is the most extreme time format in over-the-board chess. Of course, online chess there are more extreme formats, but when we're talking over-the-board chess, 5 plus 0 is the norm. So c5, Dubov goes for the Sicilian defense, knight to f3, knight to c6, and now bishop to b5. Magnus goes for the Nimzovich-Rossolimo attack. Sorry about that. And here there are some very popular replies for black, like g6. This is the most played idea. E6 and d6. These are the like top 2 and top 3. Knight to f6. This is also a fine move, but Dubov goes for pawn to e5, and this is the 10th most popular continuation, and a very tricky one. For white to handle if you don't know what's happening. Of course, capturing on c6 runs into the pretty much the same thing as similar structures do. If d captures, knight captures on e5, then queen d4 attacks the pawn and the knight, and you have to move the knight. You lose the e4 pawn with check, and the black equalizes at the least. So after e5, we have castles by Magnus. Of course, he knows this stuff. Knight g to e7, and now rook to e1. We have g6 by Dubov, d3, and now bishop to g7. And here we have bishop to g5. There is a game from 1984 between Ratmir Kolmov and Viktor Kuprechik, where knight to c3 was played. That game ended in a draw, but here we have bishop to g5 by Magnus, and it is now already, as of move 7, that we have a completely new game. So Dubov goes for h6, and interestingly, Magnus gives up the bishop pair. Bishop captures on e7, knight captures, and now knight to c3. Now Magnus with full control over that d5 square. We have castles and the bishop to c4. Even more control over the d5 square. d6, and now knight to d5. Now if knight captures, bishop captures, then Magnus is forever the owner of the d5 square. So here, knight to c6. We have c3, controlling this knight, also preparing a4, b4, d4, all of the famous strikes. We have king to h7, and now pawn to a4. We have bishop to e6, and now pawn to h3, just throwing in some useful moves. We have rook to c8, and now knight to e3. Bishop to d7, and now bishop to d5 by Magnus. We have queen to e7, and now pawn to a5, grabbing more space, preparing a6, rook to b8, and now queen to d2, developing the queen, connecting rooks. We have knight to d8, and now bishop back to c4, preparing knight to d5, as the queen is on e7, so the knight is very well suited on d5. Knight to e6 by Dubov, and knight to d5, attacking the black queen, queen to d8, and now pawn to b4 by Magnus, as one usually should play this. So c captures on b4, c captures, and now pawn to f5. And this is a, well, pretty standard position. White has more control in the center. He has a beautiful knight on d5. Black has more pawns in the center, and the black has a weak d6 pawn. White has a weak d3 pawn. So it's a bit of a trade-off. Both players have two pawns on the queen side. Nothing spectacular happening here. White should always be a little bit better, but nothing spectacular. So queen to e3. Magnus just saying, I'm not interested in captures. I'm not interested in f4. I'm just going to go after the a7 pawn. It's undefended. So how do you defend this? And okay, Dubov goes rook to c8. He goes, well, not after the bishop, but the rook is now very well placed here. Point is, if you go for queen captures on a7, then look at this. F captures on e4, rook captures, and the rook captures on f3. This was Dubov's idea. And now if Magnus captures, then knight to g5 attacks the h3 pawn, attacks the f3 pawn, attacks the rook. Now the bishop is attacking h3. The queen will be able to enter the game. It's a very, very tricky position, and unless Magnus finds the only move that gives him advantage, queen to e3, Dubov is already, well, very much equalized. Even queen to e3, it's not all that spectacular for white, it's just maybe a little bit better. But okay, after rook to c8, rook 8 to c1, Magnus doesn't go for the pawn. And now knight to d4. Here we have knight captures on d4. And what would you play here as black? It's a very interesting position where only one move doesn't lose by force for black. So of course, as soon as I said this, you know that e captures on d4 is not the move you should play, and you find pawn to f4, which is a move Dubov did not find. You have to find pawn to f4, and only after the queen moves you play pawn captures, because now you can't really capture the f4 pawn. If knight captures on f4, then queen to g5 already you allow black to really develop, and white will struggle here. So after knight captures on d4, we have e captures on d4. Dubov immediately captures it, but now he hands over the g3 square to Magnus. Magnus plays queen to g3, and now how do you defend? It's not easy, and it's very hard to find the move for black. Rook to e8 is pretty much the only move you can play, but after bishop to e5, now it's all Magnus from here. You're attacking the queen, and of course you're hoping for the queen to move so you can finally push this f4. Before that you couldn't do that. The knight and the queen cover f4, but after Magnus plays f4, there's just nothing for Dubov to do. Bishop to g7 was played. Now e captures on f5, and now Magnus with full control over the e7 square. Bishop captures on f5, rook to e7, and now king to h8. Unpinning so the bishop can move. Rook c to e1, doubling up on the e file, and pawn to b5 now. Here hoping for bishop captures so you can at least get the rook into the attack, but Magnus just plays a captures on b6 en passant, a captures, and now queen to f2. So what's the idea here? The idea is that Dubov is still without a move. He plays b5, he wants to activate his pieces somehow, but now Magnus can pretty much do anything. He can choose how he wants to win this. He chooses a rook captures on g7, and it's such a fine way to end the game. King captures, and now queen captures on d4 with check. We have king to g8. With king to h7, you still prolong the game a little bit. There's queen to a7 check, and then then rook to e7, and it's still undefendable. But here after king to g8, it's actually a forced mate in 6, and there's nothing you can do about it. Knight to f6 check was played. King to h8, and now we reach this wonderful position from the thumbnail where it's forced checkmate in 5 for white. So feel free to pause the video and try to find this forcing line while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on finding the inevitable mate in 5. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is knight to h5 check. That's the discovery that you have to play. And now it's mate in 5 only if black presents the most optimal defense, which is rook to f6, and then rook to e8 with check. A nice sacrifice to get the queen away from the defense of the rook on f6, and after queen captures, just queen captures on f6 with check. King to h7, and this will now be checkmate. Queen g7 is checkmate, but Dubov said, all right, I'm not interested in this. This is spectacular stuff. I'm just going to give you mate in 1. He played king to h7, and Magnus now, of course, delivered that queen to g7 checkmate, and that is it. That's it for this game. And it basically all came down to this moment where Dubov could have defended, but after knight captures on d4, he shouldn't have automatically recaptured. He should have advanced his pawn to f4, and only after the queen moves now captures. And now this is impossible because, like we said, you give black too much counterplay. That was the only way to play. But after he gave Magnus this one move, just captures, and then queen to g3, there was pretty much no saving game from there. And now I will spoil the result. I know I said I'm going to spoil it a bit sooner, but I decided not to. Magnus actually won the match, won the finals of the MrDodgy Invitational 3.0 without losing a single game. I think it was the same score he had in the previous match. I'm gonna check. I don't want to trick you guys, but I'm pretty sure of it. Yeah, he won it. Oh yeah, very very convincingly, 7-1. So 7-1, that is absolutely spectacular, just completely crushing it. I think, yeah, it's the same score he had against Samuel Sevian in the semifinals. but beating Dubov in the finals with a score of 7-1. That's 6 wins and 2 draws. Absolutely spectacular. Like I said, I thought we would see more from Dubov. He played absolutely spectacular chess. He crushed Grishuk in the finals. Okay, not in terms of score, but in terms of beauty of play. It was truly a spectacular match, and I thought we would see more here against Magnus. But Magnus now returned to Europe. He had a good night's sleep, and he said that ever since he returned, he's been playing good chess, and he has been unstoppable. In the entire MrDodgy Invitational knockout, he lost only 3 games to Shevchenko. Everyone else he crushed without losing a single game. So truly a spectacular feat from Magnus. And here is not a cross table, but here is what Tarje Svensson posted on Twitter. This is everything Magnus won so far, and to all of this you now add the prestigious MrDodgy Invitational. So Magnus won 5 times World Chess Championship match, 5 times World Blitz Championship, 3 times World Rapid Championship. He won was this 8th-time first place in Vaikanze, 5 times in Stavanger, 4 times in London, 4 times in Shamkir, 4 times in St. Louis, 2 times in Grenke, 2 times in Tal Memorial, 2 times in Nanjing, 3 times he won the Champions Chess Tour, and 2 times he won the Grand Chess Tour. And now to all of this you added the MrDodgy Invitational, and now of course the question can finally be asked, is Magnus Carlsen the GOAT? Is he the greatest of all times? We're going to be asking that for as long as Magnus Carlsen remains active as a chess player, but I'm sure you guys already have made up your mind, because those who consider him the greatest and those who don't, it's very unlikely that they will change their mind. But yeah, I mean, if you have anything more to add to what Tarje posted here, feel free to do so in the comment section below. But yeah, that's the game. I hope you guys enjoyed it. All of the games in the entire match, Magnus just crushed it. Dubov said that okay, there was one turning point in the match where he had an end game. Maybe he could have played a little bit better, and then match which took a different turn, but it didn't, and Magnus just completely crushed it. Big congratulations to Magnus on winning this most prestigious event. I would also like to thank Jerry Drever, Borna Smech, Jung Yang, Stefan Trifunovic, and Andrei Shrade for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else is happening in the chess world. So thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.